Unfortunately, the opposition to Imam Ali and to his leadership of the community did not just fizzle away. It was focused geographically in Damascus, in Syria, and in the person of Muawiyah, who was the governor of Syria. And he started to build up forces who would engage Imam Ali in warfare. He wanted, first of all, to begin a propaganda campaign because he wanted to convince his people that Ali was harboring those who had killed Uthman, and therefore he could bring the Umayyad people with him so that they would oppose Ali on the basis that he was insufficiently prosecuting the person who had killed their beloved Caliph Uthman. Now, one of the ways that he tried this was to get Imam Ali to say something bad, something derogatory about Uthman so that he could use it against him. This was a very interesting trial, a trial of wits and a trial of integrity. Because on the one hand, Muawiyah was provoking Imam Ali into some saying against the caliphate of Uthman, and on the other hand, Ali, with his wisdom, was ensuring that he did not do so. However, such wise moves did not prevent battle. The forces were beginning to muster one against the other, and so the thing to do was to see if there was some way of negotiating through this situation. It turned out that there was none. The next thing was that Imam Ali challenged Uthman to a single-handed duel, 1-to-1. Muawiyah, not surprisingly, he declined to take this position because he said, Ali is a noted warrior. How should I stand against him? After these initial activities seemed to be unable to resolve the problem, the skirmishes began, and the skirmishes began over the question of water, because if one side could deprive the other of water, then they would have an advantage over them in the battle itself. And so Muawiyah tried to use the practice of preventing Imam Ali and his forces from accessing the river to get hold of water for their troops. Unfortunately, that didn't prevail either, because the Imam sent noted warriors who would lead a group of men to collect water and to bring it back. And by subterfuge, they always managed to avoid the attention of Muawiyah's troops. Eventually, fighting commenced, and it went on for 3 days, the forces of Muawiyah fighting against the forces of the Muslim Caliphate, the forces of Imam Ali. It was a fairly bloody affair, but after about 3 days, the forces of Imam Ali were clearly in the ascendancy, and victory was within their grasp. It was at this stage, then, that Muawiyah tried a new tactic. He sent his soldiers into battle with copies of the Quran tied onto the top of their lances. So it was against the Quran that the forces of Imam Ali would have to fight if they were to attack these soldiers. It was also a way of saying, let's refer this matter to the holy book itself. Now, not surprisingly, the soldiers of the camp of Imam Ali would not fight against soldiers who were using the Quran in this way, out of respect for the Quran, not out of respect for the soldiers, of course. And so this brought an effective end to the fighting. Even though Imam Ali and his forces were clearly in the ascendancy, even though they were clearly on top and would soon have won the battle, the fighting stopped, and Imam Ali agreed to go into arbitration. Arbitration meant that the two sides would sit together. Key negotiators from each side would come into discussion, and they would attempt to resolve the question. Now, this negotiation went on for some months, and so that, in effect, brought about a cessation of fighting in the Battle of Siffin. But unfortunately, the question of arbitration from the Quran brought about another crucial development. And that crucial development was that there were those within the army of Imam Hussein, and that development was there were those within the army of Imam Ali who thought that this was the wrong thing to do. Indeed, they thought that this was a lack of faith in God. If one truly had faith in God, then one would have persevered with the fighting, one would have carried on, trusting in God that God would actually bring about the victory of the forces of righteousness, the forces who were in accordance with the divine command. And so this movement to arbitration was construed by these people to be an act of disbelief, an act of distrust in God as the one who controlled the destiny of human beings. This was a major challenge by a group of those who were within the army of Imam Ali, accusing him of disbelief in the way of God, of disbelief in trusting in God to bring him victory if he was in the right. And so this becomes a crucial sticking point within the Muslim community from this time onwards, which runs all the way through down into our own times. And it is a topic of who can say whether or not an individual is truly a Muslim in their heart? Can this only be God, or can human beings in some way make that decision?